So step one, we came towards the log here, and we added a strip inside. Adding the strip inside means anything that's going to happen in this strip will also happen to the parent. That's the log. So I'm going to go back to the log, create a variable to actually make it happen. You just need to understand all these steps. Once you understand, you can work on any game you want, because the same logic applies. So log, I just gave it a name for this variable. You can give it any other name too. You can name it as parts or anything. Equals. Now, I want this log variable to be connected to this parent model. So strict.parent. All it means is we're making a connection between this one and the parent. That's it. Next thing, we're gonna create a. We're gonna make sure this log is anchored. So log. Now you can access all the properties of this log. There are many properties here. Once you have connected it, you can actually access by giving reference like log.anchored true, log.color. It's up to you, but for now we can just work on this thing. And I think we have already selected the color, but if you still want .new, pick any color you want from here. For example, we have given a color as brownish. Actually, I didn't want to change any color, but these are the things you can do. So I'm just going to add 2 dashes in the front to explain that you can actually work with this, but you can change the color. You can change the material by saying log.material. And you don't really need to type all these things. They'll automatically show up. Enum, material, and you can select the type. We're looking for wood. But we don't need this. You can just keep it as it is, or you can actually keep it. It will be fun. So material is wood now by default. So these are the default things you have selected. You can change sizes and more. So you can basically change many properties. Now, the next thing we need to do is we're going to create a function. So functions, local function. Let's name this function as part touched. And actually, let's name this function as on touch. And we're going to take a parameter, whatever the part which is touching. Now, how would we know? Usually in Roblox, we have like, if this is your character who's standing over here, it's divided into multiple different avatar parts. Now, here is a log, which is kept over here. You won't be touching directly entirely. You might be touching a couple of parts. For example, your left lower leg, left upper leg. Any of these parts will be touching the log. We're gonna know a couple of things from it. Yes. So we want to find out who is the parent, who is the character. To load the character or to find the parent or the character indeed, you can just do this thing. You can say part touched or parent. Now, what this means is whenever something touches the log, it's going to find out who the parent is, which is basically you as a player. It will be your username here. So once we know who the player is, we need to check one more thing. If that's not an NPC or it's actually a player. So local humanoid, you're looking for something specific called humanoid. Humanoid is basically a character. So from character, and the script usually stays forever in Roblox. Anytime you're creating something similar, this is going to follow up. Yes.
Okay. Done.
All right, so we're gonna get the character. The character, we can just find first child. This is a keyword, which is A. All the first letters are capital. Humanoid. Now, what this specific script is going to check is whenever any part touches, for example, this character part touches, does it have a humanoid inside? Humanoid is basically tells that this is going to be a player. What about if it's an NPC like a car or any other object? We don't care. We don't really have humanoids over there. Now we are done with this. Everything is fine. At this moment, we know that this is going to be. We can find out whoever is touching the log should be humanoid and has to be a character. So we're going to write a condition similar to what we did in Python. The condition is if the person is humanoid, then print it is a humanoid who touched. So let's test it out and see how this would work. Just testing, but we're going to make it much more better. Now, another thing which we missed is your function is not going to really run because the rule of functions are you need to define them and you need to call them. So let's just remove this drawing. I'm going to stop this thing running and we need to call the function in order to run it, because if you run it right now, it's not going to run. Like, it's going to come back here to check about all your scripts. We're going to go to view, output window, and there's nothing running. And as soon as I'm going to step over here, nothing works. Because we haven't called a function. So I'm going to call the function here. So coming down here, to call the function, all you have to do is when the log is going to be touched by anyone, connect the function called onTouch. Now let's run it. So as soon as we touch that log, this function is going to be triggered, and anything that's inside that function is going to run. So coming back again, running. And this is how you can connect a lot of this. Now let's go in and let's step over the log. You see? Each time you touch this log or you keep on standing over here, the function keeps on running. And it's like running for 80, 96, 100 times because there is no wait here. So yeah, that's working, but we don't really need that. So I'm going to stop this thing running. I'm actually going to create a kind of logic. Logical scripting means they don't really mean anything, but it is for developers to create logics. So we're going to create a variable, let's say local guard, and I'm going to keep it false. Why I have just made this? For example, let's say this is you as a character standing here, and we want to sit on this chair. But in imagination, I've created a variable called guard, and when the guard is true, you cannot sit on it. So let's say this circle is the guard. It's an imagination as a developer. So when this is true, you cannot sit on the chair. But if it is false, you can sit. So you can actually write down a script. Whenever you don't want a player to sit, you can just make it true. So it's not accessible. Even if your player try to sit on it, you cannot. But when you make it false, as it's just a script, yeah, you can sit. So these are just your imagination scripts, which you can use in your own game. So here we are using a guard false, and we are making sure that if the person who is touching is a character and the guard is false, then only we would say touched, and we don't really want to make it keep on repeating it. So we're going to add a wait there. So let's say wait for 1 second. Let's say 5 seconds. Then we're going to make the guard go to, we're also going to make guard go to true. At this moment, if the guard is true, you won't be able to touch it again. Even if you touch, nothing is going to happen because the condition here says the person should be a humanoid and the guard should be false. So if it is true, you're not going to be able to touch it for at least 5 minutes or 5 seconds. And after 5 seconds, we would say guard false. Now you can touch the guard back. There could be more things you can do. For example, we have log material width, and I want to make more changes. I would say log.transparency. First, you can see it, but here I want to say you cannot see it. So we will say log.transparency. It's going to be invisible. So you can pick up between 0 and 1. 1 is completely invisible. 0 is visible. 0.5 is like 50% visibility. There can be more. We don't want the part to be field like log.handPollide. You cannot collide with the part itself. So false log. And after 5 seconds, these two things are going to go back to visible, and you can collide with it. Can we make more things? Yes, we can. But for now, I'm just going to say print. You can pick the log again. Now let's give it a try. Just keep watching the output window. This is how usually games are built. They are actually giving you a kind of illusion that you're actually picking the log. Well, you're not picking anything up from the game place. You're actually just making it visible, not visible, and adding it to somewhere else. So we're just walking over to the log. Right now, nothing happens to the game. I'm going to stop here. That's too good. And let's go and pick up the log. So as soon as I'm going to step on the log, there we go, it's gone. It says touched. And now you cannot find any log for 5 seconds. And after 5 seconds, it spawns back. Cool. Now, it says you can pick the log again, so I'm going to go and pick it up back. There we go. Now, again, for next 5 seconds, it's gone. You cannot find it. It's back over here. But let's make it more like gamified. I want to also work with the sign here. The sign you see, it says it's text here. We can actually work with the sign. I'm going to give it a name as text sign. Or let's say log sign. That will be much better. And I want to connect the sign over here. Again, it's going to be local sign equals from game, which is the game you're working on, go to workspace. Workspace is basically this thing where we had added every of the things. Now, workspace is like a backpack of all the game objects. Now, from workspace, I'm looking for log sign. Remember, no spaces, that will get easier to strip. Log sign, and from log sign, so we now located the log sign, which is somewhere over here. Inside the log sign, we don't need everything. We just need the text model. So from log sign, look for the text model. From text model, we are looking for surface GUI and text label. So surface GUI, everything will automatically show up, and text label. Now that means this text over here is connected to your script. So you can change the text. The first text I want to show is, let's change all the properties of that text label, which is, I want to change the text to pick up the log. And as soon as you pick the log up, it's going to say, not print touched, but it should say, you have picked the log. You have picked the log. And after 5 seconds, we would say, pick the log again, or you can pick the log again. You can pick the log again. Now, this thing is done. Let's make it more fun by changing the log material. As soon as you pick, we are gonna change the material to, let's say, neon, and wait for 2 seconds, wait for 1 second, and then change it back to something else. Let's say change it back to wood, and then yeah, let's give it a try. And we can also add a sound effect. Going to model, clicking on the log, going to home, toolbox. Let's get the sound effect to the pickup sound effect. So I'm gonna go to audio, sound, let's say pick up, or let's say wood. Or you can add any kind of gamified sounds. Tell me which one you think is good. I'm gonna play the sound. No. Does that look like picking up? Collect. Let's look for the collect sounds. Nope. Nope. Oh yeah, this looks good. So I'm going to add this sound to the log. But you can pick up any sound you want. And I'm going to rename the sound as this sound. So coming back here, now let's connect the sound to. I would say local sound equals. Now, as the sound is pretty much in the same model, you can just say strip.parent, and from the parent, look for the sound. By default, is the sound playing? Well, it's false, and you're going to play the sound when you're going to pick up the log. So as soon as you pick the log up, we're going to play this true, and when the log shows up back, we're going to play the sound again. After 5 seconds, we will play the sound. Let's see how our whole script is going to work. So clicking on the green, not the green flag, but the play button. Now what's the step, Michael? This is how it could work. Text is not a valid member of text label. Yeah, something needs to be changed. T should be capital. Stopping the game. Here. Sign dot text. Not transparency, but text. T is capital for text. I'm gonna replace every place I've written text with smaller case. Okay, let's test it out. No errors. We're good to go. Now, when you're gonna walk toward the log, it should apply all the effects we have added. Okay, let's give it a try. Testing out, zooming in, walking towards the log, turning right, and it says pick up the log. So I'm gonna go and click this log here. Cool?
Cool.
You have picked the log. Now after 5 seconds, the log is gonna show back. And it also changes the material to neon as soon as you pick this. There we go. The model is working. All right, let's give it a try on your side.
Okay.
Share your screen.
That's what I'm doing.